Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Happy Monday. So today I'm going to start off with a new series called Monday Monotangle Musings. So happy Monday. This is going to be a new series on my channel where every Monday I'm going to explore all the tangleations and different possibilities of any particular tangle that I've chosen that day. Now, the idea is that during the week, at some point, I'm going to post a tutorial of any tangle. So, for example, a few days ago, I posted a tutorial for how to draw this tangle called A-Dalfa. And then on the following Monday, I'm going to try and explore all kinds of possibilities, which means all tangleations and variations of that given tangle. So I'm going to start off with A-Dalfa today, and I'm also going to link the original video in the description box. So if you're looking for the exact steps on how to draw the tangle itself, then I recommend watching that video. But if you're here to explore tangleations, well then welcome. We are going to have a lot of fun exploring these tangleations. So what I've done over here is that I've started a new journal for myself. This is a 300 GSM handmade paper journal, which I found from a local brand over here, and they've done a really good job with the binding and the paper quality. And I'm also going to link this in the description box in case you guys are interested. And I have basically just prepared a template for myself over here, taking my bijou tiles and sort of creating these little boxes. And I'm going to explore all the possibilities inside these boxes. I've also given my paper a blue watercolor background, which is a pearl finish, metallic finish kind of blue watercolor paint that I had with me. And I thought this is just going to make the whole thing fun when I decide to shade these. And so it'll just sort of create like a map tangling effect. And so I thought that this would basically add to a little bit of fun in my monotangle explorations. So, diving right in, the first exploration that I wanted to do was by changing the shape of the actual flux or the teardrop shape that we draw in A-Dalfa. So, I thought it would be interesting to do a tangleation in which we change the shape to that of a heart, and we maintain the original structure or the original orientation, which is the flux sort of going in the opposite directions, but this time we do it with the heart. And so this was one variation that I came up with. I decided to go ahead and fill up the empty spaces with auras, which are sort of imitating the outer line of the heart. Now, of course, when it comes to fillers, you can fill this up with literally any kind of design possibility. But I, for one, like a lot of inky black details when it comes to Zentangle. So I am going to fill this up, alternate, and basically just increase the contrast on my tangleation. And I'm also making the borders thicker for the exact same reason, because I like these ribbons or border tangles to have a certain amount of, like, a lot of ink actually, so that they can look bolder and darker. So that's what I am doing. For the inside details, I have stuck to pretty much the original design which I had done in my tutorial earlier as well. So I am basically using the same filler. You can of course use any kind of other filler for the inside of the hearts, but I decided to stick to the original A-Dalfa that I had done earlier. Now, coming to the second tangleation, this time I thought that it would be interesting to play not so much with like an actual flux, but more like a teardrop shape, which actually resembles like a real teardrop or like a doodle teardrop that we usually draw, but they were all sort of facing in the same direction. So, sort of like a ribbon with these teardrops facing in the same direction. And then again, you can do any kind of fillers in the empty spaces, but I decided to go ahead with simple auras and adding a little bit of inky black details. for the next variation, I thought it would be fun to try and do a double A-Dalfa. So basically, we have two fluxes or two teardrop shapes which are sort of stuck together, and then we repeat them in the alternate orientation that we do in the original A-Dalfa. So basically, two A-Dalfas, and then we keep on alternating or repeating that same design. Again, fillers are a personal choice, but I decided to go ahead with the same fillers for the inside details, and for the empty spaces outside, I decided to do something similar to a beadweed pattern and tried to basically aura the beadweed around the empty spaces, if that makes any sense. But basically, just auraing the lines in a beadweed manner. Also, before we move on to the fourth tangleation, a quick reminder that my immersive Zentangle courses are now available for you to watch on Skillshare, and we have recently crossed 1,000 students on my 30-day challenge on Skillshare. We are very close to crossing 1,000 on the 45-day challenge as well. And the Zentangle Basics class has already crossed 100 students. So basically, if you're looking to get an immersive Zentangle knowledge and experience from a professional, which means from a certified Zentangle teacher like me, yay, then you can sign up on Skillshare and join my classes. Also, if you don't have a Skillshare membership yet, don't worry. I've got a link in the description box below for you where you can sign up on Skillshare and get a free trial for 30 days. So you can use that trial to access all of the classes on Skillshare's premium catalog from not just me, but all the teachers that are there on the platform teaching a variety of subjects. And you can use those 30 days to decide whether to go ahead with your membership or not. Now, just a side note that this video is not sponsored by Skillshare, but this is just a bonus that you get by using the link from my description box because I'm a teacher on the platform. And if you are interested in immersive courses on journaling, Zentangle, watercolors, acrylic pouring, Jesmonite, and other things that I teach, then Skillshare is a platform where I usually put all my immersive courses, which are a lot more detailed and a lot more intensive than the videos that I post on my YouTube channel. So if you're interested, do sign up, and I look forward to seeing you in one of my classes. Alright, and now coming back to the tangleations that we are doing today. So for the fourth tangleation, I decided to play with the shape of muka and use that in opposite directions like so, and then fill this up with details. So I have chosen to do black ink on the inner side of the muka, basically where both of them are meeting. And then for the outer edges, I decided to go with a simple aura and coloring the little space black. For my fifth tangleation, I decided to go ahead and add some echoes to the original flux or teardrop shape, and this is also very reminiscent of the Tangle flux echo. But the idea was that the flux or the teardrop shapes basically face in the same direction rather than going in the opposite directions, as is the case with the original A-Dalfa. So in the tangleation, I decided to add some echoes over here. I kept the inner details pretty much the same, and then decided to also aura out the empty spaces, adding those little curvy lines and filling them up with black in an alternate fashion. Then for the next tangleation, I decided it would be fun to add a zigzag line inside of the ribbon and basically like little triangles, and then adding the teardrop shapes inside. So now this is basically like a reticulum fragment sort of situation where you have like a shape in which you can fill up any other tangle repeatedly. So I basically decided to fuse the triangles with the flux from A-Dalfa, and so I fit those in the opposite directions and decided to add a little bit of ink here and there with a few auras going around the sides. Then, borrowing from the same triangle idea, I thought it'd be fun to add some of the flux elements facing in the same direction, while the other triangles could have an aura inside, or basically like the reverse of the little detailing that we've been doing so far inside the flux. And so, this was another output that I came up with. I actually quite like this version because I feel that this gives a sort of like an art deco vibe, like not exactly there, but somewhere there. So I feel like this itself is quite a wholesome ribbon to play with. And maybe it's a little too far from the original A-Dalfa, but that's okay. That's the whole point of tangleations, that we keep experimenting and it often leads to new tangles. So this is definitely a variation that I really, really like. Now, just like we did with the triangle approach, I thought it would also be fun to convert the ribbon into small sections of squares or rectangles like so, and then add the flux facing opposite directions. And so again, the inside details are your choice, but I have decided to stick to the original design simply so that they are a nod to the original Tangle or the original A-Dalfa. Next, I decided to have the flux elements sort of touching each other, or, sort of hugging each other so that they form like this sort of like a heart shape. And again, these are facing in the same direction rather than going in the opposite directions. So this was another variation that I thought would be interesting for this particular tangle. And again, for the details on the bottom for this one, I decided to go ahead with the beadweed kind of detailing, but you can do regular auras and other fillers as well. Now, since I've done so many different tangleations with the same filler inside or with the same detailing inside, I thought it is time to switch things up. And so for this tangleation, I decided to stick to the original A-Dalfa structure, which is the flux elements facing the opposite directions. But instead of doing the usual filler inside, which is that little triangular peppering sort of shape with a little orb, I decided to go ahead and add these little auras. And then on the empty spaces, I thought it would be fun to add these little orbs, sort of like tipple, but because they're ascending and descending in a particular order, they're a little more structured than the usual tipple. So this was another variation that I thought would look interesting. This one's also a little more playful as compared to the other versions, and it sort of reminds me of little fishes floating around in the water with like little bubbles all around them. So this is also definitely a wonderful tangle to play with. And of course, I can add even more orbs on the inside of those auras in the flux, but I decided to leave it as is for now. And moving on to our next variation, I decided to have the flux elements again touching each other, but this time their heads are touching as against the bottom. And so in this case, I thought that it would be fun to play with a few orbs for the detailing. So maybe we can add the orbs on the inside or even on the outside once I've put in the auras. And then for the inside, we can actually do auras again by just playing with some contrast over there. So this one I feel needs a little bit more work in terms of how I want to make this a little more elegant, but I do like the flux elements sort of facing the way they are and the orientation of this whole thing. So I'm probably going to refine this a little bit more at a later stage probably, but for now I quite like the structure of this, so I'm definitely going to keep this in my journal. And then for the last tangleation, I decided to skip the top and the bottom ribbon lines altogether and simply decided to do the fluxes touching each other, pretty much like going in an infinity loop, so that we get an organic outer border. And in this case, again, I decided to stick with the original inner detailing. And for all those empty spaces or those little gaps between the fluxes that were touching, I decided to fill them up with little orbs. So yeah, so these are all the different variations that I came up with for A-Dalfa. And if you happen to use any of these tangleations in any of your projects, please don't forget to tag me. And definitely don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and also don't forget to use the hashtag Monday Monotangle Musings so that we can all form this little community of tanglers from all over the world, and we can all tangle together and explore new tangleations every Monday. So that's pretty much it for today's video. In case you're also interested in seeing me shade these little tangleations, then please put that in the comments below so that I can plan a video around that. And if you have any other suggestions for which tangle I should cover next, or if you have any other tips on what else I can add to my videos, please do put that in the comment section below so I can look at your requests and plan some interesting content around that. So that's it for today, and I'm going to see you in another video very, very soon.